this recording. Talking about our retreat that we had, gosh, it's almost been 2 weeks now, was the best retreat that I've ever had. And the funny thing is it was the hardest material that we've ever dealt with at a retreat, because we're all going through this like death rebirth phase in our life. And I will tell you that there was a lot of girls here, and some of them were new, some of them weren't the normal crew that comes to the retreats, and the lack of ego that was here, especially when things were not perfect, because life is like it's like unbecoming right now. So the fact that there was nothing perfect, that things weren't completely flowing the way that they could have, it flowed better. Because and once I was actually done, I reflected back and I realized how much work these women have done over this last year, and not the study part. I think we're all like, we've been smacked upside the head from overstudying, but now we are letting go. We are letting go, and we are finding it safe to kind of submit to our higher selves and be led properly, because that was the entire purpose of the Divine Feminine Workshop, was that desire to be led by a safe authority, right? And your true authority is your higher self. Okay, now call it God, call it higher self, but it is you in an expanded conscious form. It is the completed you. It is the wholeness of you. And that should be the only discipleship we have when it comes to being disciplined to our imagination. All right. So I just wanted to thank all the women that were here, because it was so calm and so peaceful, and yet everybody was going through it. We had a lot of rough content to deal with and a lot of things to face together. And it was really amazing. So I just wanted to thank all the women that were able to come out and share that. With that being said, the Quantum Fitness team right now is hard at work creating basically your virtual reality map. Like, we all know by now that we are in a simulation. We are living virtual reality. We are, we're in the dream. And the whole idea is to wake up in the dream. And you've also heard me talk for years with Master of Love, the alchemy courses, the warrior training that we've done over the years, that you are on a reconnaissance mission. There are so many light workers out here who think that they are here to save the world. And they think that, oh, I'm here to be the light, but yet they're in judgment of the dark. So I am here to tell you that you are on a reconnaissance mission here to literally, you've come here to heal your soul. Okay, that is what you're here for. Your spirit has stayed infinitely perfect throughout time. Your spirit, which is the stream that is connected to source, that is that piece of you, that unique perspective that is you, has remained intact, pure, bright, vibrant, alive, magical, powerful. Your entire perspective of any time, space, metaverse, timeline, parallel, it's always been you. It's never minimized, it's never subtracted, and it's never separated from source, ever. So what you're doing here, and which is why there's so many old souls on the planet, is we've been training all year on non-duality, realizing that what we are truly in duality of is the civil war within. Okay, so you have a soul that is like a sponge of your experiences. Okay, that is what it is. It's a recording mechanism that records and downloads, whether you're conscious, aware or not, of everything that you perceive or everything that you are influenced by, regardless of choice. Okay, so it is a container of, let's say, everything that you have ever been, all right? And it does not think, and it does not necessarily feel. It just recycles experiences that we call programs, all right? So every single time that you have come into an incarnation that has had a physical reality broken into yin and yang, or, you know, above or below perspective, that your soul, whatever happens with your soul, is too heavy for you to take with it. Okay, it's too heavy usually by the time you broke and you return into the internal stream. So part of you is like, that's my baggage. Okay, and the bigger it gets, the bigger it gets, the bigger it gets, the more responsible you are for it. So you may go, okay, I've got to go back to source and figure this out, while your soul is literally sitting here burning in hell in the earth, because the earth is literally ruled by the kingdom of death. That's why everything dies here. Okay, that's why everything is constantly in a focal point of lack and loss and hurry up, it's going to die, hurry up, you're going to die. That is just the storyline that is here. Okay, so what we do is we try to live our life that we want to live, while the soul fills up with all these experiences and all of this information that we don't want. And what we're taught here to do is cope with it and separate from it so you don't have to feel it. All right, that's what we're literally taught. Don't feel your feelings, don't. And then it's just like, oh, and also your feelings are your intuition. Not true. All right, not true at all, because the subconscious, or the soul, okay, is the baggage of your time space here. Okay, and it cannot go with you if it is dense, because, I mean, lighten up means to lighten up. So imagine trying to get on a plane and they said, no, your baggage is too big. Well, that's what it's like. So you have a choice. You either empty the baggage so that you can take it with you, or, okay, you leave it behind. And when you die or have a physical death experience here, most of the time it is so heavy that you leave it here. Now, this is going to answer the question, why do you choose the parents that you choose when you come back? You pick up with the frequency, the tone, the storyline, the patterns that is in the soul waiting for you. No, it isn't you. No, that's why your parents are like, these are not my parents. I feel like I'm adopted. Like, that's not me. I've just been in source for, you know, remembering who I am. And now I'm here on a reconnaissance mission to come back into my own baggage and be reborn. Okay. So this concept of being reborn is only defined as the purification of your own soul. Okay. You've got to figure out who owns it, who has it. And how you can figure that out is take a moment right now, drop into your breath, drop into your root, and ask the question to your own consciousness, who has my power? You'll be surprised what face pops up. You'll be surprised what entity pops up, what bank, what bill, what ex-husband, what brother-in-law. All of a sudden, it's just a picture, because you're saying they have your power. Now, I bet you, if you sit here for 5 minutes and you said, okay, who else has my power? 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 Okay. When I say power, I'm saying, where else is there a program running? Because you are God in human form, bottom line. But you are responsible for the baggage that you have sitting with you. All right. And your job is not to go out there and save the world. Your job is to bring the kingdom of heaven, which is your source, down into the kingdom of darkness, because you are split into two kingdoms. All right. You, the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of hell, are within you. See, they forget that part in the Bible, saying you're also the kingdom of hell. Your bottom chakras, the heavier they are from your soul signature, are going to reside in that material, flesh, lack, hunger space, whatever you have lost, whatever has been taken from you, wherever you feel, disempowered and hopeless, well, that's telling you what your soul is filled with. And so if we were going to split you in half, as above is below, your bottom 3 chakras, literally, when you come in, are going to be under the domain or under the reign of the kingdom of death. Okay, so your root chakra, indoctrinated. Your sacral chakra, your sexuality, your creativity, indoctrinated. Before you get here, just like when you buy a smartphone, there's pre-loaded apps on here that you may never even think to look at or use, but they've been downloaded for you. Now, the apps that are going to be downloaded on your body, your smartphone, your biocomputer, your quantum computer, are going to be specific to what you are here to integrate, what you are here to clean up within yourself. Where you had to leave because you got too heavy, you're going to find yourself at the scene of the crime, the scene of the story, and you're going to be like, why did I get these crappy parents, right, when I'm a light worker? and your soul is like, because we are the crappy parents, right? Welcome to earth, welcome to hell. And so for the next 7 years, we're going to be projecting all of the fragments from your soul into your physical reality so you can re-download the program and you can feel all over again that I am not, because that's what the program does, is it runs the program. So if your soul is saying, I am not source, I am not God, I am not worthy, I am not deserving, I am not safe, and then you have this stream of this I am consciousness, I am immortal, I am eternal, I am power, I am love, I am kindness, I am generosity, I am creativity, I am imagination. Well, you can see how there's going to be a little bit of a civil war going on there, and it's based on the citizenship that is in the 2 kingdoms that you're sitting in right now. Now, a lot of the times we feel so attacked by our childhoods or our families or our relationships that our instinct is to run away from them. But they are the projection and the mirror of what is in the soul. Okay. Now, last year I taught it in a way that helped you guys understand that. Imagine that you were with your best soulmate, whether it be a best friend or a partner, and you're on a desert island, and you're trying to get off this desert island, and she or he gets hurt, and you have to go find help. You have to leave her behind because she can't walk. She's too heavy to carry. So you go look for help. Okay, so this is another analogy of looking at your soul being left here under control, under domain, and in the bloodline of whatever is being run and organized here on earth. The fragmented part of all of your unfulfilled experiences, your unrequited loves, your failures, your losses, anything that resides in weight or density will be left behind because it's too heavy to go. Okay, it cannot go to heaven with you. It's going to stay right here brewing, waiting for you to come back. That's why some of you feel like you're from the future. You are. You've gone into the future to figure out how to go get back your soul. You have been on all kinds of reconnaissance missions. You are literally the Navy SEAL of this whole journey right now. If you're on Earth right now, you are considered a Navy SEAL. You have been trained to live through what should have killed you. Okay? You are here to pick up a very, very heavy soul. So when you hear, oh, I'm an old soul, that's not necessarily a compliment in this reference, because a lot of times what happens is we get off the island, but we don't know how to get back, right? Or takes 30 years to get off the island, and then, we get rescued and get amnesia, which is the story of the earth plane. Because you have to look at it behind the scenes, whether it's the God of creation and the God of destruction, are literally just playing chess. So we need to stop looking at this as good and evil and the devil and all these things, even though it's a true enemy that we can linearly express. Like it's almost like it works because you want to kind of loathe your rivals. You know, it's almost like you look at sports teams and you move to a place and like, oh, you live here now, so you have to hate them. We're like, okay, I have to hate them, but I'm from there. Well, if you live here, you have to hate them. So the less you judge this chess game, the easier this will be for you. The more you look at this as right and wrong, the harder it will be for you. Because judgment and resistance keep you asleep to this. The more you can stand back and be like, okay, I'm not on earth for any other purpose than a reconnaissance mission to go find my soul, which I was born into, in these people around me. My intimacy into me I see is a perfect reflection of what I have unresolved everywhere. So my only job is to purify my soul through the source that I am, through the love that I am, and basically get my soul to submit to my stream of God power and purify it. Just like if I took a dirty cup, right, of water that was this high, if I kept filling it with water, it would purify eventually. And this is what you're here to do. This is why nothing happens overnight. This is why, you know, sometimes it'll feel like you're not making progress. Because there's times in your life where you're filling your cup with clean, beautiful water, when you're in the honeymoon effect, when you're playing with a baby, when you're doing something you love, when you're creating art and you're flowing, and you're starting to make a dent. But what happens is when you start to make a dent into your soul, all the particles start to raise to the top and you get triggered because you're drinking dirty water now. I'm in my creative flow that's pure water, and all of a sudden I'm getting chunks of dirt in my mouth. And that's not a bad thing because you're starting to dig it up. So the triggers, the echoes are all proof that you are filling your cup with that which you choose to be, not with what has been done to you. Okay. Your first 7 years feels like helplessness, because here you are. You know, you don't have money, you don't have power, you don't have control, and you're being led by parents, regardless of how loving their intentions were. You know, all bad behavior starts with good intentions, are ruining you in the perfect way that you left yourself behind the last time. So we can stop telling the story that it's my mom and it's my dad, because they are a fragment of the best and worst parts of your own soul. Now, how this works together as unity, because we're all one stream, we're all drops of the ocean that feel separate from the ocean, therefore don't feel like the ocean, but are still basically a chemical reaction that is the whole, but we feel the separation. And so the things that you are the best and worst at are also reflections of what your parents have sitting in their souls. Okay, so we look at the soul as residing in the lower half of the body just for a linear expression. So let's look at the sole of your foot. Let's look at the word heel. Don't you think that looks a lot like hell? Head. Doesn't you think that sounds a lot like heaven? Okay, so this is what the alchemists were teaching through the Egyptian times and before this. Like this was what we look at as occult information is literally just rules of the game. Okay. And no, we don't need to go study all of those occult rules, because that's what we're doing right now is we're putting the whole game together. And you're realizing that your bottom half, or your soul, the dense part of you, the heavy part of you, is going to be the part of you that you came to basically resurrect, because your soul is living a chronic death experience, because everything here on the earth plane in the third dimension is governed by death. That's why everything dies here. You know, I bet you when you were a little kid and you realized that your parents could die, it really triggered you because you had no reference for it. And then the longer you got here, and the more you watched die your favorite plants, your loved ones, your dreams, your projects, your bank accounts, you got comfortable with death. And the other part of you will never comprehend it because it will never, ever experience it. So our entire focus is not to cover up what's in the soul, to make peace with it, to cope with it. It is to literally purify it. The Christians call it born again. Okay. And when you're born again, you become a new man. You become the inheritance of your Christed alignment or your Christhood. So, but because your source energy is playing the kingdom of heaven within, and your soul is literally programmed by the kingdom of death, there's quite a civil war going on here. Now, I wouldn't say your spirit is in war with your soul. I wouldn't say it's war at all. It's more of a conflict. It's more of a challenge. It's more of a misunderstanding. The number one thing that dissolves relationships is misunderstanding. That's why you hear all of these prophetic teachers, know thyself, right? We diagnosed and ripped apart the word soul in the last experience. We got to a root origin that means psyche, aka worm, bookworm, weak, heavy. Here's your caterpillar. So how the caterpillar becomes the butterfly is it lightens up. Okay. Notice when you're ready to have your caterpillar death experience here, you start to notice how heavy you are. So right before you left that toxic marriage, how heavy were you? I don't mean physically, I mean emotionally. How heavy were you when you finally lost that job, or you had to file bankruptcy, or you finally took your health back? How heavy did you feel? So this isn't going to be a one-time resurrection Christhood experience. You may have to die several times because the soul is constantly avoiding death, avoiding loss. That's what fear is. Fear defined is anticipation of loss, or secondary definition, victim perpetrator. It is, I do not want to experience loss again. So that is what fear is. So if you feel fear, which part of it is, where is it coming from? It's not like, oh, don't fear, don't fear. Fear, it's sitting in my soul. All right, my job as infinite creator is to get my soul to submit safely to the I am that I am, and flow, 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 consistently, routinely, that which you truly are. See, but what happens on earth is this game is not amateur. This is not an amateur game here. This is the major leagues, okay? Because the way that you are giving the gifted of amnesia when you come in, right? You first have to awaken to this. And most people who are who we consider their light workers are still completely doing everything to avoid their soul. They may be doing a lot of spiritual work, but they're not going, okay, this is my baggage. They'll get rid of the boyfriend because that's the baggage. They'll maybe spend all day in meditation. And we know that when we do not intentionally trigger ourselves, we don't have to feel what's in our soul. That's what medication is for. That's what distraction is for. That is what overwhelm is for. That is what the art of being busy is for. That is where justice comes in. You could spend your whole life fighting a fight so that you never have to feel what's in there. You see, so when you get to the end of your day here and you depart, or at least part of you departs, some of you remains, okay, that is literally trapped in a death experience. See, we're calling it past lives and we're calling all these things, but ultimately your soul is kind of the conclusion of your Akashic records. Like everything that you've ever been, and I don't mean only bad things, but see, the things that remain in a dense plane of earth are the things that are dense. Okay. So this is why the more aware you become, the more not studied, but the more unlearned you become, the more power you have over your soul. See, the more you learn here, the heavier your soul gets, because you're trying to make sense of why you feel bad versus just saying, I'm just going to empty my cup. If we would just spend time unlearning, if I was a 5-year-old kid, like, that is a reflection of, me, I could start working on that. But we spend most of the time, first 21 years, 3 7-year cycles, trying to escape from the I am not, trying to escape from ourselves by proving that we're lovable, that we are successful, that we are bigger, that we are capable. And we have tons of human hormones and life inside of us that until we're 35 years old, will keep feeding that ego or that separation. So it's like the ego plays the mediator a lot of times. Now it's going to get you to focus on whatever it is that holds the biggest frequency. And this is why a lot of times good things are going on, but you're still drawn to what's wrong. All right. Now, if we backed up a little bit and stopped judging it and stopped judging the game and stopped judging heaven and hell and was like, okay, everything that I am can be transformed with the faith of a mustard seed. And when I say that, what I mean is the love for anything. Like the love that you had for a pet that died 10 years ago is enough energy to clear out your entire soul. But you don't believe that. You see, you say, oh no, it's going to take more because it feels so heavy. See, your soul is attached to the mind, thinking space, and it's also attached to your nervous system. So when you are in fight or flight, it feels real. All it is a program running, either anticipation of loss or I don't want to lose again. That's what fight or flight is. Okay. And so if we looked at that like, oh, my body's in fight or flight again, instead of I am in fight or flight, I'd say, what am I anticipating I might lose here? My pride, my dignity, right? My life, my home, my family, whatever. Okay. Okay, good. I recognize that is a program. Now we're going to take it really deep in this, this big project that we're working on. So imagine the quantum fitness that we did a couple, like last year and the year before. And we put it into the game of life. All right. We start you off with you figuring out where in the reconnaissance mission you are and going through, because you do not know where you're going if you have not completely acknowledged your past. Now, I don't mean you go live there. I don't mean that you're like, I got to go deal with every single thing in the past. No, you're not looking at the past at all. You're looking for programs. You're looking for programs that are still running in your now moment that are affecting your future presence. Okay. You're looking for things that are keeping you unpresent now. You're looking for unfinished business. You're looking for mysteries that are, that you haven't had closure on that are still showing up now. And then what you do is you acknowledge the program, not you being unlovable or you being a failure or you being anything, because until you realize you're here to collect and purify your soul into the resurrection of the I am, right? You're going to be having this life experience where you're going to constantly be creating something new with something old. So until your soul is purified, you will never manifest anything that is not a mix. You will mix the new you, the fresh you, the healed you that just came from source directly, and you will mix it with whatever ingredients are in your soul. So it will have a sauce and it will have a flavor to everything. You will find it in your time, your money, your health, and your relationships. Okay, you will. So what we do is we look at the soul as the program, and instead of going towards the soul for our intuition, guys, we need to stop thinking that intuition is your emotions or your feelings, because it's not. Okay? Emotions and feelings are literally going to be produced by thought. Okay, so whatever you're thinking about is going to have an emotional or a feeling. Now, if it's an old PTSD or it's an old wound, it's going to have a feeling. That is not your GPS to say, I got to get away from this guy. Your GPS is saying, you're running the program again. Okay, so we got to stop doing what we're doing. And if we're going to really understand this, the kingdom of heaven within you, your left and right hemisphere represent your king and your queen, your feminine, your visionary, right? Your masculine, your action, your the provider, the protector, the fixer, the builder of that vision, work in perfect harmony, then you are literally living in the kingdom of heaven. So when you start out based on how heavy your soul is or how old your soul is, could be why you're feeling 10 steps forward and 10 steps back. It's like a challenge for territory. And the source of creation wants to use you as the you that you are to basically not just help you purify your soul, but one person with a purified soul affects 750,000 other people to plant the seed within them, to be thy example, to lay hands on, to resurrect right there someone else. So yes, you're first here for your own reconnaissance mission. And that might be your first mistake, is that you were saving everyone else's soul because you felt them in you. I know I've done it. I built a career doing that. I'm like, ooh, I can't do mine, but let me help you with yours. Now, luckily, you are me. And so I did receive healing from that. I saw my pain. I saw my weakness. I saw my limitations in all of you guys, right? And that was really good because I couldn't confront necessarily all of me at that point. But as the years go on and certain patterns don't break, you have to question, okay, am I actually lightening up or am I actually just getting spiritually heavier, right? So if you're scared of the devil right now, you're just getting heavier. If you're getting like, oh, this is just duality. So you look at the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of hell, or the kingdom of creation and the kingdom of death, all within you. And you say, oh, this is just duality. I'm just being pulled in two directions. And whatever is sitting in my soul is my job to purify. And when I purify that through a process, then I will basically be all of heaven. And then I can walk in the image of, because you were born in the image of it. And so you're never like punished, okay? You're never not chosen. There's no one that has more power than you. There's no one who has more gifts than you. There's no one that can do things that you cannot do. And if you believe those things, that tells you there's a program running in your soul that says, I can't. That's it. Because if you didn't have that baggage sitting in your soul of I am not, you would not at all think that. So what we're doing right now is we're building out this, basically it's a treasure hunt back to the kingdom of heaven through a purification, through biohacking, through, you know, brain reentrainment, rewiring, through, you know, separating the blood and the soul. I mean, we're doing every single thing we can in the physical world to help you guys purify what could be thousands of lifetimes of a soul that you're sitting in that are basically generating one summary that you call this life. Okay, so this soul that's been sitting there is not bad or good. It's baggage. And this baggage you are responsible for. And this is why when you leave one relationship, but you don't fix that program that attracted that relationship, you will attract the same story within 3 months, and time's moving faster now a little bit, so maybe even 3 weeks. Okay, so you start to manifest what's in your soul faster now. And so it's like, feels like the triggers are just coming at you. But on top of that, you're becoming more aware, right? The baggage is more illuminated. You're starting to understand this is you. You're starting to understand that there is only one being in the universe, and we're all working through it simultaneously to help each other. And we get this linear experience that time is moving forward, but it's really not. It's all happening now. So this idea of past lives and parallel lives, it's easier to study it in a linear fashion because of the way your human focal third dimensional brain views things. But the bigger version of you gets it without understanding how. And that's cool. So we're like, we get it. But to like think through it, okay, we have to understand that every single manifestation that you are constantly manifesting will have the essence of both your source power, the real you, the spirit you, and the soul you. Okay. Now the soul you has basically become a slave to this story here. It wants to play the game. So a pattern wants to run, okay? Just like a habit wants to continue. You guys know how hard it is to break a habit, okay? And like, you move to a new house and your brain wants to keep driving to the old house. You want to start a healthy routine and you get distracted and you're on your old routine. It's very difficult to stay in your presence. And so now you understand, let's look at maybe a pattern that you've had for 10 lifetimes. And now you've got to figure out how to break it. So this is why we use what we do is, and this is what we do a lot in spirituality, is we learn about our higher self first before we do the shadow work. We learn about, the energy of source. We learn about, aliens and different dimensions first before we go, oh, now I got to face my shadow. Great. And the reason why we do that is because, right, when you're born, your consciousness is wanting to create, and your soul wants to destroy. Your soul wants to destroy because that's what it's been programmed for. Like I said, if I left my bestie on a desert island for 30 years and I went and created a life for myself, when I came back, she would be surviving by destroying. She would have to kill and hunt and gather and be quite destructive to survive. Okay. And so her entire intuition would be built out of destruction. And the one who got off the island and built a life and maybe had a family is all turns towards creation. So when she finally gets back, which you will always find yourself back at the scene of your crime, the scene of your trauma, the scene of your abuse, your job is not to go, this again. Your job is to say, here you are. I love you. We're going to get through this. I'm going to tell you that you don't have to keep creating or destroying relationships. We don't have to keep, ruining our money line. We don't have to keep destroying our bodies. We don't have to continue to do that. But instead, we start to create, and we don't realize that we're on a loop to go back to our soul. And so when we arrive, we're like, you again? I thought I cleared you. And she's like, not even tip of the iceberg. Hello, right? Here I am, and I'm not mad, but I sure want to destroy everything you're building right now because that's what I do. All right. So think about right now, the status of your current relationship, whether it's an intimate relationship with someone else, a best friend, a business partner. Is it in creation, or is something destroying it? Because okay, let's say you're doing this work. Okay, say you're in this class, but your partner has not done a lick of any of it. Okay, and they're walking around with a bright spirit that you are madly in love with, but a soul filled with trash and destruction patterns. You watch them hurt their bodies because they're addicted to basically destructive eating patterns, destructive, mental thought patterns, control issues. And you're like, well, now I got to pick up my soul and his? No, because the one that you love is a match to the part of your soul you can't see. So that trash is your trash. And that's why all you have to do is love it. Okay, it's easier said than done. But this is why we tend to run or, want to build walls around people. But what we don't realize is that when we run away from a situation that is teaching us to come towards it and heal it, not in the situation, you do not heal your soul by healing his soul. You heal his soul by recognizing you're a vibrational match, doing the internal work to purify your soul. Then your purified soul will run over him and he will get the benefit without doing the work. And only your ego would care about that. Your spirit is like, more power to you. You just happen to be the one that woke up in the dream. And so you hold the dominant responsibility, right? I mean, come on. Spider in his head, great power comes great responsibility. You can't unknow this. So anyone you're in an intimate relationship with, you are responsible, especially if they trigger you. All right. Okay, let's say, well, shoot, I wish I would have known this before. I left mine, or I'm still wishing mine was dead. You might want to re-examine the things about that person that you cannot identify with. Because if I left my best friend on a desert island for 30 years and I went and had cheeseburgers and tacos and life and babies, and then I came back and she's eating bugs and maggots and she's missing a leg and she's got dreadlock hair, I'm not going to feel like a match to her. I'm not going to feel like we have anything in common, even though at one point we were soul mates. Okay, I'm not going to feel, but what we have in common is what we are either avoiding or working towards. So the whole idea of resurrection and the death experience that has to happen for you to become a butterfly is nothing more than you purifying your own soul. And there's so many teachers out there that are giving you this piece and this piece and this piece and this piece. And what we and the team have been doing is we're hunting down the best of the best of the best of the best of the best ways to biohack this. Okay. I'm not going to be like, I created this. I don't need to. There's been teachers on the planet for thousands of years who have been leaving these treasure pieces, these clues for us on how to beat this game. Okay, you will never, ever beat this game and get off of Earth with all of you holistically without your soul. Okay, but it cannot be the frequency of this planet. It has to be the frequency of the Christ within, or the crystalline purification of you. This is why we love babies. This is why we love new, because it's not filled with all the remembrance yet. It's not filled with all of the pain yet. And this is why we're drawn to youth. Okay. As we start to get older, you're having an ugly day, you catch the reflection of your mirror, you see your mother and you cringe for an hour, right? What you're doing is you're looking at your baggage. You're looking at the you that you keep avoiding, right? So the reflective reality is designed to show you 24 hours a day of where you are vibrationally, because this is the game of frequency and vibration. The higher the frequency, the lighter the information, the more flow, the more love. If you put a seed under, microscope and watched it, you would see that it's growing very, very, very fast, even though it appears like it's growing very slow here. So life moves at the speed of the word, okay? And the word moves faster than light. Now, death is always on a clock. And this is why when you start to feel like the further you get away from your soul, the more anxiety you will feel, okay? The more heavy your soul gets, the more depression you will feel. These are indicators. Okay, they are like your check engine light. They are not to be like, oh, I'm depressed. It's like, oh, I'm depressed. That's an indicator. That's the check engine light. But see, the game here is so sophisticated that the spirit of death does not want you to know that you're dying here. It wants you to actually feel passion and ecstasy and love, because as long as you get a taste of that, even if it's twice a year on your vacation, you will keep moving towards that and never know what true boredom is or true pain is, because there is something here to keep you ahead of the clock so you do not outrun and find yourself. The scariest thing when you're doing shadow work with someone is when you teach them how to be in the present moment and all their past starts smacking into them, right? This is why people don't want to be in the present moment, is because what's in the present moment is, you know, your BFF that's sitting on the desert island, like, where have you been? You left me. Now I'm going to make your life hell because you're all alive and I'm dying constantly in a spiral. Think about what a possession is. It's something that is undead that has possessed your body. So when you look at your soul, it's been possessed to the programs of its environment. All right. It's got your grandmother's, you know, stubbornness. It's got your great-grandfather's nose, but it could also have slavery in it. It could have genocide sitting in it, right? And the older your soul is, this is why old souls don't like people. This is why old souls they just can't get involved, because they've been through it so many times that they just want to sit alone in reclusion with their books and, you know, their arts and not deal with it because it's too much of a trigger, honestly. So I don't believe necessarily in introversion. I believe in, hey, this is my soul telling me that that's all of me and I can't handle that right now. And so I would rather just be in my own energy where no one is bumping into my heavy soul and I don't have to drag my bags anywhere. Okay. But see, your spirit looks for a way to connect 24 hours a day, 24 hours a day. Got to get in there. We've got to get in there. So your body, literally, if you do not beat the game, okay, you only get 120 years max here if you don't beat this, if you don't beat the game, because that's the life cycle of the game board. Like the DNA has been clipped at two ends, two helices. That's all you get. Most of us don't live that long because of poison, food, and water. Okay, we don't usually live that long. And most of us don't want to live that long. You know, like I said, if you're changing my diapers, pull the plug, right? I don't want that. I don't want that life. But, you know, we just get to that point. But this is the way the game is set up. Now, why a game? What else is there to do in the universe when all there is creation? Creation, in order to truly experience itself, has to have a contrast. It means it has to have a nemesis. It has to have an opposition in order to expand. I will tell you, you have expanded more from the people that have hurt you. You've expanded more through your crisis. You've expanded more through people trying to destroy you. You've come back to your soul from abuse. You found your worthiness in unworthiness. So how the universe expands itself, or creation expands itself, is to have a confliction or a contrast to push it. This is why I always say, hey, if you're growing, you're not comfortable. If you're growing, you're facing fear every day. If you're growing, if you're not, if you're comfortable, you're avoiding your own soul, or you're just living in the addictions of it. And it really doesn't go back to right or wrong, or you know, Christian or non-Christian. It is literally, this is the game board of virtual reality, where you, when you are not embodied, are source energy. You are God. Now, the body was made in the image of God, but there's multiple gods. Okay, the God of expansion, creation, and the God of death. That is the opposition. Okay, so we will in our program really kind of show you, like on Earth, what the characters archetypes are, because there are character archetypes that make up creation and destruction. Okay, and if you really want to go nerdy with us, we're going to be translating all types of words you say every day that you don't know what they mean during your spellcasting. That is actually making your soul heavier. Certain words that you speak are making your soul heavier. So there's ways that when you take your power back, you start directing all of your energy, because a river, like a rushing river, is some of the cleanest water on the planet. And a pond is the dirtiest. So the sediment, comfort, the non-movement, the non-growth is where the possession happens. Okay. Now, in a racing river, right, Bruce Lee, be like water, then as everything is moving, it's in creation. Okay. So we have an intuition to rush like water. But what we're doing is we're trying to rush away from the soul instead of pour all that river into the soul. And so a couple things will happen. You'll either realize this and start doing it on your own, or life will start doing this to you, because the game is way past the halfway mark. Okay. And so it's just like, you know, if you've ever been in one of those escape rooms, okay, it's very much like that. And you get clues, right? You get clues. You can call the front desk and be like, throw me a bone here, I need some help. Okay. And so this is what we want to help with, is giving you guys fast tracks and clues, and, you know, helping you with your treasure hunt, because the treasure hunt is for you to get back all the way to your soul from the reconnaissance mission. And you'll find what's in your soul by people, places, and things that trigger the living hell out of you. All your injustice issues, you know, your lust, your gluttonies, your pride, all of it is what is the personality of your particular soul. And so this is like when I was going through my experience, my pride had to get crushed in order to get in there. It was like that was the guard on deck. Like, nope, you can't come in here. I know who I am. And this is what my value is. And this is what my worth is. And this is what I can do right. And so when all of a sudden my spirit was growing from all this biohacking work, it started to flood into the soul, and it was not comfortable because everything started to come out, right? So it's like everything that I had been pushing down into this little baggage, like imagine that you've got lots of embarrassing things in your baggage and it pops open in the middle of the airport. That's what this feels like. I'm just letting you know, it was not fun. And there's, I mean, you can't be like, that's not mine, because everybody knows it's yours. Okay. It's your issues and everyone can see it, which is one of our greatest fears, of exposure. Okay. So when we realize that we have two choices here, we can come back next time for a bigger soul. That's why I said 3D is getting heavier. Everybody's soul is getting bigger that isn't going towards it. So you could be one of the most spiritual people, you know, you could have your, you know, you could be quoting scripture, you could be like teaching classes all over the world. And if your main focus right now is not the purification of your own baggage, you're not going to advance at all, but you're going to have to come back here until you figure this out. And the heavier it gets, you know, the heavier it gets, the more the amnesia is. So if you think about how do people come back into this reality and remember? Your level of asleepness bases on how heavy you are. All right. So there are people right now that don't want to hear this. And they're like, no, don't speak, right? But they might be showing you in a way where I don't believe that. Okay. Because they are not ready to confront what is in there. They are not ready to confront the things that they've had to do to survive on this planet for thousands of years. They are not willing to confront the pride and the humiliation and the loss and all these things that are hiding in there. And they will not, in this time and space, act in a way that helps them win the game. They will play the game. They might even be an anchor for you. They might hold space for you. Okay, because in everything you do here has value. Everything, even if you kill people, it has value because it's part of the intricate system of either inspiring or triggering. And both of those are ways to awaken. You will awaken both from love and from suffering. So the people who are here that are just acting out what's in their soul and they don't even feel like they have a spirit, they're going to poke you at some point, and that's going to be great because you're going to know what's in there. Okay, so you're going to actually be like, oh, this triggered me. That's an injustice. Okay, you know, again, there's nothing else except love. Like, all you are is love. You are nothing but pure, eternal spirit. But it's very hard to claim baggage that we don't resonate with from a spiritual space. We don't resonate with what is in our soul. And that's why we don't resonate with certain people. We don't resonate with the things that we had to do to survive, right? When we don't remember doing it, but somehow it's now being done to us. Because the rule of slavery here, right? It's just like if you go to jail, kill or be killed. So your soul, the densest part of your soul, is bipolar. Okay, it is running the same program. I am not, right? I am not worthy. I am not good enough. I am not deserving. But it will run it in two directions to distract you so that you won't realize it's a pattern. Number one, you'll be a victim of it. Number two, you'll be the perpetrator of it. And you will literally go back and forth, perpetrator, victim, perpetrator, victim, perpetrator. Every time you replay this program, you will either play the victim or you'll play the perpetrator. Well, what is spirit? Spirit is the victor. So look at right now where you are truly playing the victor of your life. Well, that's where you've cleared out your soul right there. And that's where your spirit is leading. So how do we grow our spirit and shrink our soul, or at least empty it, right? So that the soul can be filled with spirit of creation. That's when you become the Christ. That's when you become God in man and woman. You are fully, holistically, right? Our Father, holy is his name, right? Holy means all of. But if we don't know which part of us is playing for what side, because I will tell you, your soul is team darkness, 100%. Even though the conscious aware part of you that's not running a program, that has new ideas, that goes in their imagination and blisses out and falls in love with puppies and gets excited about ideas, does not at all have anything to do with what's sitting in there. It's just patterns and programs. But it's just like me. My home, I am responsible for it. What is inside my home, I am responsible for it. Yes, we want to light a match sometimes and walk away, but you don't get to do that here because it's already burning in hell. Okay, your soul's already burning. It's been sold out. So you have to come back and buy it back with spiritual prosperity. You will buy your soul back with spiritual prosperity, which means that we want to help you guys get so rich in the spirit world, okay, that your river is flowing so intense that you have the energy, the power, the focus, right, the determination and the authority to just blast your soul. And that was one thing when I was getting back into energy medicine and we were working on all these different healing modalities that we're learning that are soul-based healing modalities, like ways to heal the soul. I realized how little of my power I had. You know, as a light worker, I'm like, there you go, I moved your chakras, you know. But when you think of the stream of creation, the power of the sun, you know, the beat of your heart, that's an intense power. Okay. And so the way that we create spiritual prosperity is to spend more time in the spirit, not avoidance, not spiritually bypassing our problems, but more time building spiritual prosperity, which means a connection with source, building a relationship of fellowship, like intimacy with the biggest part of you, instead of searching for intimacy that is literally hungry for what's in the soul. This is like, well, is it a soulmate or is it a twin flame? Well, both of them, okay, twin flame, well, that's going to set you on fire. That's going to wake you the hell up. Okay. A soulmate, well, there you go. You know what it is. And so what we're looking for is first and foremost to be soul mated with source. This is why Christians are always happy that are born again. You guys, if you've met, just go to church where there's a bunch of new believers, you will be in the presence of children, because the love for God is so beautiful and it is so strong that you're like, give me some of this Jesus. I want this feeling. And the difference is they are madly in love with God, and you are madly in love with something material here. And this is why you will never be satisfied, and you will never feel hungry. I mean, you will never feel satisfied, and you will always be hungry. See, when you direct your love that you have, and when you direct your visions up, okay, instead of out, then you don't mix with the soul. You stay in the flow, and you start to build your power out. Okay, so this relationship has to be the most important thing. It has to be the GPS that's a knowing, which means that when you get an intuition from the Holy Spirit or from your higher self, it ain't going to feel like excitement. It's going to feel like growth. It's going to feel like facing fear. It's going to feel like walking away from something that's painful. It's going to feel like creating something new that you don't know how you're going to create. It feels like taking the first step when you don't know there's another step. It is not going to feel exciting. Now, the soul gets you really fired up when it's about to rerun a program. And that feels like excitement. It feels like hope. It feels like, yes, finally, it's all clicking into place. I will tell you, the purification of your soul just feels like nothing is clicking into place. It feels like, I don't know who I am, what I am, but when I pray, when I meditate, when I'm in the stillness, I feel peace. That's what you have to hold on to. The more you spend in peace throughout your day, reconnecting to source, the stronger the vibration becomes within you. The more you're doing your imagineering work, the more you are living in the wish fulfilled, the more you are living law of assumption versus circumstantial, the more you are getting rid of distractions, letting go of toxic people. You know, I mean, the toxic people served you very, very importantly because they showed you what was in your soul. You don't need to keep having them around. It's like, if I'm allergic to chocolate, please don't feed me chocolate while I'm healing. All right, that's just 101 healing. But at the same time, you want to practice the art of unconditional love for your greatest triggers. So how to purify the soul, it is all about going in and acknowledging it. Okay, it is taking that power back of saying, okay, this is my mess, but I am the source of all creation. And so whatever is dying within me, I have the power to resurrect and become a new version. I mean, if I said, right now, I'm going to wipe your mind, and you will not remember your first 7 years, you will not remember your parents. All you will remember is that you know your God. I bet you every one of you would be like, sign me up, because you don't want to keep this. You know, your identity and your personality are more built out of your soul than your spirit. Okay. Your spirit, it does not have a distinct personality. Your soul has an identity, and it needs to keep that identity in order to exist. Because if you don't exist, what happens? So if I say, okay, we're gonna wipe your mind, okay, and you're not gonna remember anything except that you're God, but you don't necessarily know how to do that yet, but you will have no platform of identity or personality. Would you do it? There would be part of you that's like, absolutely not. You know, because as I was starting to kind of lose all of this within myself, there was days that I felt so out of control and so afraid of nothing and so worried, and like, I didn't even know how I felt. we don't realize how safe we feel with our own bad feelings, you know, how certain we feel in our own jail cell. So it's like, but in order to win the game, your job is to take back the kingdom, to overthrow, right? It is a civil war. And so most humans, their spirit power is like this. They have the human spirit that keeps their blood pumping and their heart beating, but they do not have the Holy Spirit moving through them because of their own unworthiness beliefs, right? It's not like, oh, you don't get it. You get it, you don't. No, it is a choice. You have to go towards it and say, hey, I want to open this up, because it just becomes atrophied. It never disappears. You know, it's just like where you go when your Wi-Fi signal is real sketch, and it's like it goes and it comes and it goes and it comes and it goes and it comes. So just think of it as a really strong Wi-Fi signal that empowers you constantly the more you build this relationship with source. Now, again, it's going to be very difficult for you to build a life of source when most of your cells are dying, because they are listening to what the soul is saying through the mind, watching your self-talk, watching your negativity, looking at the people that you're around that are talking to you, that you think they're talking, but it's actually you projecting. Okay, so most of your cells, if you're not running Holy Spirit energy, are just existing, idle, or dying. This is what age is. And like I said, that we all come down here with the same clean slate as far as the spirit goes, but we all step into our baggage, and it downloads and hardens, solidifies with the neural pathways by age of 7. So that's when identity starts. That's when desire kicks in. That's when you start running the I am not program, thinking that you're running the I am program. This is why around the 30s, we start to awaken, we start to ask questions. And the reason why that we awaken in our 30s, which is interesting, is it's all biological. Your hormones become tighter. And when your hormones become tighter, your pride begins to lower, okay? The ego starts to not be able to run on your passion and run on your adrenaline. And so there's not as much of that available because the body's already going through it. It's going to start its death phase. And so it does not have that infinite storage battery that it had in its 20s to keep running the programs. And then you start to question the programs. So it's not like everybody wakes up at age 30, but that's just biologically once the ego reigns from age of 7 to 28, because that's where the hormones are the strongest of the gender reactions of the of the testosterone and the estrogen. So it just has more access to your power. So when you get out of bed and you're 35 and your pillow hurts because you slept wrong, your pride is going to be a little bit lower. You're going to start asking questions. You're going to be like, I got to take better care of myself. And now you just started your own rabbit hole that will eventually take you to all of this at some point. But see, this data has been here. It's encrypted and it's coded because it's a treasure hunt. It's like, okay, I am completely far away from myself, soul and spirit. The treasure hunt is this. And you find it, and then that's when the real work starts. See, the real work is not discovering that this is the problem. The real work is then when you have to start confronting these things and you start actually sitting and seeing what is in your soul and being flabbergasted by it, frankly, because if you do not intentionally start looking in there, it's all going to start spilling out, because it's the caterpillar moving through its let go or be dragged phase. Okay, so those of us who have been working on personal spiritual development are going to explode at some point, and what that will look like is destruction manifested around you. So it's almost like knowing that there's a time bomb within that soul, okay, and instead of going towards the soul with a weakened Holy Spirit, get your Holy Spirit really big first, and then it's just like getting a dog to submit to you. It's just like there's so much power running through you that every thought you get it, you fix it, you feel it, you're constantly reprogramming, you're constantly working in what you choose to be, because it's just recorded data. The soul is completely powerless except that it runs the pattern. So if you can get it, know what it's saying that is an opposition of your truth, not take it personally, not look at it as your truth, look at it as a program, and start putting the program in that you want over and over again, consistently, routinely, being the disciple of your own imagination. Well, then, all right, within 3 to 6 months of diligent routine, you will start getting the soul smaller or purified, and your Holy Spirit will start to ascend basically out within you, and you will feel so much more power in your body. And things that you've wanted will start manifesting with no icky stuff. Okay. Like, so I created a vision board for myself when I first started this, because it was like, I needed a 2-point. I needed something to hold on to while everything was falling apart. And so when I would go in my imagination, I had very specific things that I've wanted my whole life that I've not manifested, and some things that I just wanted to have and be and feel about myself. So I put them there. And so that was my focal point versus circumstances. Like, that's real, this isn't. That's real, this isn't. And that's very difficult to convince your linear mind that circumstances are not real. All right. This is why I've introduced you guys to the Neville Goddard work and all of these great authors that teach imagineering and focusing, because you've got to have a carrot to hold on to. Because when you start going through your caterpillar experience, you will not be excited by that vacation. You will not be excited about that bonus check. You will not be excited about another weight loss journey. It's just not going to feed you anymore, because it's at its bubbling point, where now we are in the era of surrender, let go, surrender, let go, surrender. Like, we are in that phase of lightening up, not learning more. All right. So what we're doing is putting together all of the biohacks that help you guys empty the soul the fastest. Now, the soul, right, is echoed into the mind, and the mind is the biography of the body. So whatever is going on in your soul is going to show up here. All right. It's a message completely. And thank goodness we've got tons of emotional dictionaries out now, where you could go, okay, I've got my thumb got burned. You can look it up and your soul will be telling you something. Okay. You don't feel good about yourself. Like, it will say something. So again, that's an acknowledgement. Thank you for showing me, just like a child telling you the truth. All right. And the more you do this work, you pay attention to your dreams, because your subconscious will tell you things in your dreams that you're not seeing in physical reality, especially if you're living in distraction, if you're living in medication, if you're living in the busyness, if you are living in blame and shame. You're not really going to know. You're going to be so distracted by the symptom. So look at physical reality as the symptom of your highest level of consciousness and your lower. Okay, so you're going to see some really amazing things because of that higher you that's done this work. And you're going to see some things that are just damn near shocking to you. And it's not going to feel like you. But you would not be able to perceive it if it was not part of your soul. You would not, which means that your beliefs about money, your beliefs about time, your beliefs about yourself are all sitting in your soul. And not only are they just sitting there vibrating, they're running programs. They're desiring to run. They want to run. That's where it's going to be like, I got to use willpower here, because it's like, it's going to go against what little spirit you have. So when you go through your born again experience, which you all have to do this and start maximizing that Holy Spirit energy and purifying the soul, things will start manifesting that feel like heaven on earth. They're not bittersweet. They're not seasoned with the dirty soul. They're not muddy watered. Okay, this is why I feel like our retreat was so different, because usually, people, women come to the retreats and they know they're going to be unpacking baggage. So their walls and defenses are up. And so it's like, since we've been doing this work together, it's like everybody came and was like, yep, that's my soul. It's like, it's like we just claim it. And it was so beautiful because no one felt great, but everybody was at peace because they had been working on that spirit. They weren't needy on me. They weren't like, you know, triggered by the other girls. Like if they saw something in another girl that made them uncomfortable, they were like, that's in my soul, right? And so it was so beautiful. And it was the first retreat that I could say I've ever had after all these years, where when every girl left, I was sad that they left. And I felt fed by the experience instead of bled. Usually when you hold that kind of space, especially when you're doing shadow work, you're just like, I need 2 weeks now, you know, and I felt like I felt more alive from that. And so that was my awareness of my shift. But in talking to the other girls, they have also experienced that too. So that was a really good sign that I feel like, especially the ones who have been studying quantum physics all these years, they're the ones that are going to be on the leading edge of this experiment and this game, because they're the ones who understand that basically everything is inherently neutral. Even the horrible programs that your soul is running is still neutral. It's just such a contradiction of your spirit that it feels bad, right? So it's not bad or good. It's just a program running, but it is a program of destruction. So sometimes you are the problem. You know, anytime you sabotage yourself, that's your soul running a destructive pattern to your I am. Okay. Anytime you have a negative thought, that's the soul giving you a feedback loop of your destructive soul patterns. And so it's not about judging it. It's about understanding the game. Understanding the game. You are here to find all of those programs and replace them with the holistic source that you truly are. Because you're made in the image of God, your God. Your body could go either way. Your body is inherently neutral, but your body was designed to be the kingdom. Okay. And when you come onto earth, your game is split into duality. Your body is split into duality. Whatever is in your soul is going to be in your body, and whatever is your spirit is going to be in your body. So it is 100% fair, right? And we know that the reason why the spirit of darkness is using all these manipulation tricks on you is because source grows, right? And destruction kills. So you realize that our upper hand here, like you could grow your life in 6 months where your soul has been killing it your whole life. Yeah, I mean, I'm saying your comeback game is insane if you just flip the script. But you got to know the game. So we are building out this physical game. Like you will have a game board, and it will be the human body, because your citizens, your kingdom of heaven, everything is right here. Your blood is electric magnetics. That's why you are projecting and manifesting. You're electrical, you're biochemical, you're biodegradable, but the power of life, right? So a tree could be out there and it could go through its life cycle, but it would still remain eternal because of the seeds. So you have to understand that the seeds that you're planting are your eternalness. So your body doesn't have to die if you plant the seed that you are eternal, which means that 120 years could go as long as you want without having to wear diapers, which means you just get younger and younger and younger. You would be the age that you desire to be, and your body would have to submit to that, because your body is just a servant. That's it. It's literally like, who are we? 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 And you're going, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And then there's a hot chaos going on there. So the biohack here is to use as many spirit building tactics and soul purifying tactics in a 24-hour day, maximizing your time and space, right? So like, that's it. And so that's what we've been working on this like mad ever since I started quantum fitness and started going. It was almost like I had it And then of course it took me down this rabbit hole and this rabbit hole and this rabbit hole. And I knew that we had to physically kill the body in order to go back to factory settings of the kingdom. Because again, we have to take your body back to Control Alt Delete. Otherwise, there's so many viruses and so many programs running that it's just going to move so slow and it's going to be so chaotic that you'll eventually tune it out and you'll just stop caring about this. And we know what that looks like by looking around at people who watch 6-7 hours of, Fox News every day and complain. That's what that looks like. All right. So as long as you're here playing the game, your mission, your purpose, I mean, you write a best-selling book, you talk on a stage, that's a beautiful byproduct of the work you do here, but that's not what you're doing here. You've come to get your soul back. It's probably been here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, at least a piece of it, because we know that spirit is like steam. It can be everywhere at once. So you could be having lots of other experiences while this particular drop of water or ice cube is sitting on earth like, oh yeah, I got to go get my baggage, right? Okay, because again, ascension is about becoming all light. But your mess is your mess and you are responsible for it and you will never be able to outrun it. You might get a break from it, but I'm telling you right now, worst thing I could possibly envision is to leave what would be in my soul and come back in a baby body and have to start in a whole nother 7-year loops of not knowing and then try to wake up and remember again. Because like I said, the heavier your soul gets, the more you forget. And see, this is why the kingdom of darkness is so heavy that it forgets that it was once source. That's why it doesn't want to claim it, but it needs your source to exist. The kingdom of death needs a food source. It cannot live on its own. This is why you see this metaphor of zombies eating brains. That's where the Christ energy is, okay? This is the undead walking around starving is the metaphor of the kingdom of darkness, right? And the more of your soul they get, the more you're trapped here. All right. So if you're like, I'm not coming back again, I'm done. Okay, well, let's weigh your baggage, because you will, it's like a child. You're not going to leave it. You're going to come back. And this game is nothing more like when you're not in this body, you know this game in and out. You are not like, oh, wow, I'm learning. You know it. You remember it. All your amnesia is gone. You sit with your soul team. Like, how do I get back down there? You're putting together genetic plans and all kinds of routes and things like this so that you can wake up fast and, get back to source. And so I'm 25, I'm going to bump into a Christian. I'm going to be baptized and here we go. And so you start this journey, but everybody is going to have their own way of doing it, but we're all going to intersect. And that's the coolest point, is that we're all in this together. Ain't nobody's soul better than anyone else's. I mean, think about what you've had to do to survive: desperation, times of settlement, times of being abused, times of abusing others and not even knowing it. You've done the dirt if your soul has been here, because everything here is about kill or be killed. Okay, it's about surviving. And this is why when you feel like you're so kind and you're so empathic in this dark world, and you feel like homesick, okay, and you feel like you don't belong here, it just means that you haven't truly actually claimed part of you. You're in judgment of your own separation, right? Because there ain't nobody any better than anybody else, but there are people on this planet that are beating this game, and they are walking in the image of Christ, and they are resurrecting the dead, and they are healing the sick, and they are feeding thousands and thousands of children, and they are making a very big dent. But because that is only 10% or 1% is walking as Christ on this planet, 10% are working towards it. You could be like, well, we're really outnumbered, but no, one person, right? So it is actually a well-matched game here. Your job is to know the rules. You would never want to go play a game professionally if you didn't know the rules, because you would keep getting sabotaged. So what we want to do is we want to give you every way to understand the rules of this game, and then help you with your basically repurposing, your purification of the soul. And how we're going to do that is probably 150 different ways, because the best part about spirituality is that there's a piece here and a piece here and a piece here and a piece here and a piece here. And there's no one way. There's no one way to do this, guys. There's no like, well, this is the way you do it. Only breath work. This is the way you do it. Only Christianity. I'm sorry. I think that we can put everybody's pieces together and give you the biohack code, because it really does take a lot of these pieces in order for you to be spending your 24 hours a day intentionally expanding and purifying. Remember, weeding and seeding. That's what you're doing. You're in that phase right now. You're not here to build your best-selling book. Now, if your best-selling book comes out of this, beautiful. What you're here to do right now is this. This is about your choosing your own salvation. And your salvation is you are saving your soul. You are buying it back with source energy. You're literally, you hear this in every new age, like your birthright is abundance. What does that mean? Okay, where is it? What are you abundant in? You're abundant in source energy, and that's creation. So you have unlimited creative abilities, but if you believe that you are not, you can also be abundant in that, because you are abundance. You can create destruction. So what happens is you start to work through creation and you bump against your own soul, which is destruction, and then it all goes to crap. And then you're like, what am I doing wrong? So locating the patterns, locating the programs, stop it, getting out of physical reality, become an NPC player out there, do not operate in that world, and start operating in the spirit world and imagination, create a 2-point focal point, and do nothing but a 24-hour day of weed and seed. Okay, so what we want to do is, and when I say we right now, is I've got Regina helping with some of the financial new, like once you get to the butterfly space of this program, you're literally getting back to your birthright of abundance. She's got all kinds of things set up where you guys, once you are in a vibration of source, to just walk through the threshold of your inheritance. Okay, that's all set up. But your biggest point of play here is to get from the caterpillar to the cocoon. That is your biggest play point right now. And if you are trying to rush ahead, it ain't going to work. You're going to get to the flight deck and they're going to be like, your bags are too heavy. That part of you has to stay here. Okay. And then that's a death experience that will be playing out when your spirit leaves. Okay. And it's just going to be sitting here as the undead waiting for you to come back to it. Not pleasant. So getting through into the cocoon space and truly becoming a creator, not from destruction. Some of you get really excited to create a new program loop, and then it gets destroyed and you're disappointed. But that's what the program does, is it destroys everything you love. So if you feel anxiety, it's because you know that's going to happen. If you feel depressed, it's because it has happened. All right. So we have to pay attention to our emotional states, not to be guided by them, but to look at our emotional states like a child trying to communicate to us. Like, what are you trying to tell me? Okay, I'm depressed. What does that mean? I'm suppressing this. I'm anxious. I'm afraid this is going to happen again. All right, we've got to start to decode the messages of the body and become the consciousness that is not conscious of its environment, but conscious of its own soul. All right, so what we want to do is we want to take anybody that's ready to do this down the whole program. Now, you're not going to do this here because it's just not going to work if we have this in locations right now. This is all done online, and there'll be two options. You can do it in a group, like a small separate group, or you could do it with a mentor. All right, there's like 3, maybe 4 mentors right now that are trained to do this, take you through, which means your 24 hours a day, it has to be intentional. like every hour of the day is the intentional programming, deprogramming, which means you're not going to live the life that you were living yesterday if you do this. But I will tell you that you're going to probably get there. Well, let's just put it this way. Every single thing on my vision board, I either have manifested or it's coming within 6 months and I have the paperwork on it, including Luke's golf cart. He drew a big poster board. He drew a little golf cart this big and then put it in his room. It's being delivered in 2 weeks. We didn't even pay for it. It was a gift. It's being delivered in 2 weeks. So it's like every single thing now is starting to happen. But to me, it's the best manifestation because I know it's coming from my source is improving and my soul is getting more purified. So that means that I don't have the fear of losing it. I don't have the fear of losing the boyfriend, of losing this, because now I know that source is in the relationship, not my soul. And that I wish I would have known this sooner, right? But it's a process. This awakening process is, I mean, the childhood I had, I must have had a really big fat soul. Okay, so I have to take ownership of that. So anybody that's ready, there will be a very small fee just because of our time. If you do the group, it will be cheaper. But we only have 6 months more of this class. So what I'm going to use this class for is continue with this type of training, keeping you guys down your own DIY rabbit hole, keeping you moving forward. But we're going to actually take the guinea pigs all the way through the beginning, all the way into the cocoon, and then start working with your source to be born again. So then when you become the butterfly, it's just the next logical steps of the game. So it's like, you just push this button and this button and this button, and then you become a sovereign human. First, you'll become sovereign spirit, then you'll become the sovereign human, and you win the game. You can do this in your lifetime. Like it took me, I will tell you guys honestly, it took me about 6 months to completely get down to the place where my soul stopped reacting and destroying everything in my life. So if you're not willing to give it 6 months, right, think about how old you are. Think about how many timelines it's been. It's really not that long. And in hindsight, I would do this again sooner. I have not regretted one element of this, regardless of what I've had to lose to get. But anything in your soul that's in a destructive pattern, it's setting you up for loss in the future. You're not going to be able to keep it because that's not what the program says. So anybody out there who wants to do this, reach out to me privately. And there's going to be basically 3 of us that are going to be working the group. And then the mentor will be, whoever you guys choose to do that with. And we are writing this. It's going to be basically in 3 textbooks. I mean, day and night, we've been working on this. And I have documented every single thing that has happened to me, experienced, lost, manifested, just so we can find the quickest route. It's like somebody had to create the maps, right? Someone had to create the roads. So not saying I'm the only one doing this, but what we're doing that's a little bit different, which is so awesome, is we're taking everybody's piece and putting it together. So you're going to see some Buddhism, you're going to see some Christianity, and it's not blasphemy because it's all the same source. Okay. And there are people who have beat the game and you actually know their names. Could be 2,000 years ago, but guess what? Anybody that's beat the game, you know their name. They called ascended masters. All right. And this is nothing but a holographic choose your own reality, but you will not be a deliberate creator of your reality if your soul is running programs that your spirit is unaware of. You will always manifest both. If the soul is bigger than the spirit, you're going to have a more destructive life. If the spirit is bigger than the soul or more purified than the soul, you will have a bigger, abundant life with less stuff happening. And that's just physics. All right. I'm not making it up. I just stumbled into it. I thought I was enlightened before. That was pride. So now the real stories are coming out, but look at where we are in the threshold. We're in the gender wars again. And this always happens at the end of the civilization. Every time civilization is about to crash, gender becomes the issue, because what a way to distract ourselves from the truth of I am. If I don't know what gender I am, I'm not looking at what my soul's doing. I'm looking at why you're mad that I don't know that I'm a girl or a boy. It's a distraction. All right. You are eternal spirit. And and if you study the art of war, you'll see that this happens every time the civilization falls. And so what is it an indicator for us to get busy so we don't have to fall with it? Because see, you're not just manifesting in your soul's personal relationships. You manifest with collective soul signatures, wars, genocides. So whatever was happening at the time of your last reality is a destructive program that is also in your own soul, even if you weren't part of it, because the soul thinks everything is you, which means if you lived at the time of Hitler and it triggered you in some way, your soul thinks you're Hitler because it doesn't see anyone except you, which means if I talk to Karen, my soul hears me talking to myself. All right. There is no one else to the soul except you. Think about that. All right. So the soul needs a 2-point. And so you will just manifest someone else to run the program with. All right. It's just, it sounds really easy, but it's not. But we're going to make this easy because anytime you have successfully done something, it becomes easier. But your ego will resist it at the beginning. And that's why it's nice to have accountability. And that's what was really nice about our retreat is that accountability piece, that fellowship. This is why Christianity, that, you know, they're focused on their believers. They can have a thriving existence in all of this, even if they don't know all about these things I'm sharing you, because of the fellowship that they create. We're all in this together, right? Misery loves company, but so does love. All right. Okay, so that's all I have time for today. That was a long class. Thank you guys for bearing with me. If you are interested, reach out. I think we're going to do like $150 for a group, and this is for the whole year, for the rest of the year, and $350 if you want a private instructor. And the reason why we're barely charging anything is because we want the clinical research. So far, there's only a few people who've gotten through it, and we want more data to go into the book, the textbooks. There's going to be 3 of them, and it's going to be all of the history of all of the biohacking that has ever existed, including all the stuff that's in the quantum field that we have potential access to. Okay. So reach out if you're interested. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. We got, 6 more months out of the year, and this will be my last masterclass. So, we should be butterflies by this time next year. We shouldn't be in a classroom. We should be playing and surfing and creating and living. That's success, not more classes. All right, guys, love you. I will see you soon. Bye.